everybody! Welcome back to another Sims 4 video! Today we are finally doing another build. It's been so long since I did a build and I worked really hard on this one and it took me a long time, so I hope you guys really like it. So today's build is a home for the family of my new series, The Moors. And in the series, the family has just moved to Ravenwood from the suburbs. The father is a real suburban guy. He is really trying to fit in, though, with the new culture, and his wife is actually from Ravenwood. And they decided to move back here with their daughter because he recently decided that he needed a change of career. And so he is going to be starting the Grim Reaper career. And that is what our series is mostly going to be about. We're just going to play through the Grim Reaper career in Life and Death and maybe do some of the other Life and Death type things because I've never actually played with the pack. I do a lot of building on this channel. I buy some packs to do a lot of building with, and I don't always get to playing with them. So that is what we are going to be spending the month of October doing because Life and Death is kind of spooky and, Halloween and everything. And it might bleed into November too, but in mid to late November, we will definitely start doing holiday builds, which I'll be super excited for. And I'm hoping to fit one or two more spooky builds into October as well. So be on the lookout for those. I need to stop saying the days I'm going to release things because it never actually happens. Because I was like, we'll release this video last week sometime, and it's literally coming out a week later than I expected, which is okay. I think everybody's okay with that. But I just feel bad about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to stop telling people I'm going to release things when I don't. But anyways, let's get into the build. So I wanted it to be kind of spooky and a little different, but also a Victorian style. So I really was channeling energy from the Addams Family and even at Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. The home from that I actually looked up and took some inspiration from. But I wanted it to be pretty spooky, when the family pulls up to the house, they are like, oh my gosh, this thing is old and run down, but also have stuff of their own in it too. So I tried to include colors and vibes that I think fit the family. And you also might notice that I did use a few packs that weren't Life and Death. Now, the house is totally downloadable without these packs. It will just miss a couple of the things, but I did want to include a dog and cat in my playthrough. So we have cats and dogs in here. We've got seasons, and we've got the Blooming Rooms kit. So without those kits, if you only have Life and Death, we might be missing a couple little things. But besides that, it is almost completely Life and Death, so I think it will definitely be downloadable even if you don't have all of those packs. Right now, you can see that I was struggling with the roofs. Roofs always take me so long, so I don't think I could ever do a tutorial, maybe in the far future, but honestly, I have to look up tutorials sometimes myself. But while I'm doing that, maybe we can talk a little bit about Halloween. I love Halloween. It's one of my favorite holidays, my second to Christmas, so I'm super excited for Christmas too. But I don't know for sure what I'm going to be yet, but I might end up being Padme from Star Wars. So let me know what you guys are going to be in the comments down below. I'm super interested in hearing all that. And I can't figure out what I'm going to end up doing on Halloween yet either. It's kind of a weird little area that I'm in because I'm an adult, but I don't have kids, but I don't go to college, so I'm not going to be going to any parties. None of my friends are throwing a party. And I'm not throwing one because I live with family, so it'd be kind of weird. And I'm not a big partier anyways. I would love to do something where, maybe there was music and maybe a movie playing on a screen or something. But, the other parts of partying, it's just not my thing. And I was thinking about doing a trunk or treat, so we'll just have to see what happens. Maybe I'll end up hanging out with a couple of friends and just being really chill, watching a movie or something. But let me know if you guys have any plans, because I'm sure in other areas there's lots of fun stuff to do for young adults, but where I live there's not really anything. And a lot of stuff is directed towards kids, and that's a great thing. We need lots of stuff for kids. But honestly, on Halloween, kids are going trick-or-treating. They don't need the whole shebang. They just go trick-or-treating, That's what I did. I do think I'm going to be putting up some decorations this weekend, so I'm very excited about that. I think I need to go buy some pumpkins and maybe some mums, and I ordered some cobwebs on Amazon, so hopefully those get here soon because I like to decorate. I love to decorate for Christmas too, so definitely excited for that as well. Last year I bought a ton of decorations, so obviously I can use them this year too, and they're so cute. I got like those light up deer. I always felt like the houses with those light up deer were always so fancy, so in my big girl era, we buy in the light up deer. But I don't think I'm going to be putting any lights up for Halloween, but of course I'm going to be carving some pumpkins, probably like the week before Halloween because I don't want them to rot before we get to Halloween, and those will have little tea lights in them, so, that counts. One day I want to have those lights that you leave up all year round, and I will just change the color of them for Christmas and for Halloween, and it will be great. You can see that I just did the layout in the house. I always like to do, well, maybe not always, but most of the time I like to do the layout of the house before I do windows because then I know exactly where I'm going to be wanting to put them on the outside and the inside. So I like them to look really like nice and even on the outside, but sometimes that always doesn't set up exactly right with the inside. So I just like to have reference of what it's all going to be. It makes it a little bit easier, I think, personally. And I also wanted to add access to that tower I had, and I actually end up putting a wall around the ladder later on and having a door to it, so almost as like a little closet, but it's actually access to up there. I don't really do a lot up there. I put a little chest thing that Life and Death has because I didn't know what it did, so I was like, well, if this does anything, because it does say like open, so I want to see what it looks like in there. So I was like, what a better place to put the chest than in the tower. And I was also maybe thinking of adding a little office for the dad later on. I don't know. I don't add it in the build, but like that could be something that maybe I do add if he needs a computer or something, because I do not have a computer in the house at all. So if we end up needing one. And now I'm just fiddling with the windows. It took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do for windows. I actually cut a lot out, and then I wanted to go back and change like how some of the windows were broken swatches and some were not broken swatches. So I wanted a good mix of both. So I did that both on the tower and on that little conservatory area. It is a dining room, you'll see later on. Spoilers. But yeah, I think it's super cute. I like that I added like a little funky little piece, like I don't know if it was a hexagon or an octagon. I don't know how many sides it had, but I like adding a little bit of uniqueness to my homes. I like the Victorian style a lot, and I feel like those often have different little, towers and all these things, so. And here, I actually use these windows that have white trim on the inside, and they have the exact same ones, except they have brown trim, and I will go back and change those, but I like skip it, so you probably don't even notice that they're white trim versus brown trim right now, but I'm just letting you know. And I also decided to add a little balcony in the back. That's one of those things that I seen on the Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends houses. They had a little balcony back there, and I was like, why not? And I also had those bookcases in there because I was trying to figure out how to cover the fireplace. That fireplace is so tall, and I think even on medium wall height, it clips through the floor, so that really stinks, but I do end up covering it pretty well. It looks a little awkward with the door there, but I think I did a pretty good job. You'll see that later on. And I was trying to figure out if I wanted to add some windows around the upper area, but I think I just stuck with those little ones at the front and at the back with the little shutters, and those little ones at the top right there for the little decoration, because those you can't see out of. They're like actually in the roof. I hope one day we can have like roofs that are like you can go inside of, like an attic almost. That would be really cool. You can make something sort of like that, but it's really not the same. It would be definitely cool if we could do like roof rooms. That would be something interesting. Take note, Sims. Then I go ahead and try to make it a little more like a porch or deck back here with the columns and everything. It really took me a while to figure out exactly what I wanted to do and what spandrels and everything I wanted. You can barely see them, but I felt like I wanted some nice spandrels. And figuring these windows out actually took a second too, because I was like, they're going to be uneven on the outside, or we're going to have two windows in the bathroom on the inside, because that's actually what that room is for. And I was like, I barely like one window in the bathroom, let alone two. So I figured it it out though, you know? I think with the porch and everything, it all ended up looking a-okay. And pretty soon we're going to be done with the outside and move to the inside. I actually don't show the landscaping on camera. If you guys are ever interested in seeing that, let me know. But I think for the most part, the video tends to get a little bit long, and the landscaping is kind of just guess and check. Like, I'll place something and it's like, does it look natural? Does it not? I don't know. Oh, and I added a little chimney, and that was fun. If you ever want to see how I do that in a little more in-depth way, just let me know. But yeah, usually I add a wall and then add a chimney and a room and destroy the ceiling and then raise the chimney up so it's like where the smoke will come out of. And then you want to add a little half wall on top of that so that it kind of makes a little even surface. And I even go back and change which chimney I'm using because I decided that the life and death one actually looked really cute with this. And I didn't even realize the life and death one came with the chimney at first, but I think I'm going to go and do that now. You see, I'm adding that one in, and I just like the little roof. It's so cute, and I just think it adds to the vibes of the home, so that's awesome. And I think we are going to start on the inside now, finally. I am always like, can I get through the outside so I can get to the inside? I love decorating, and I try to make things too perfect. And I'm like, I just need to relax. It's Sims. I don't know. I don't need to worry too much about making things perfect. If you didn't see what I just did there, I decided to make the room lower so the fireplace for some reason wasn't going low with the room floor. So I used tool mod to lower it. And I used tool mod throughout the video to shrink things and expand. So it's a good mod to have if you don't like just using the bracket keys. Like, you can get more precise than using them. And obviously lifting and lowering with the 9 and 0, like, the fireplace would not go any lower. So, and I also decided I wanted this entryway to almost be a little library area, and I think it turned out really cute. You know, it's not completely like a library. I only have the 2 bookshelves, but it turns out really cute. And here is when I officially decided that I was going to use those other packs for more than just like the cat and dog bowl and scratch posts, because I was like, oh, I'm not sure, because if it just doesn't have the scratch posts, that's okay, but base game curtains is hard to work with. We have base game. I can't remember if there were any life and death ones or not, but man, not having the Desert Lux ones too. I love using the Desert Lux curtains, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what curtains to use out here. So I ended up going with cats and dogs ones, and I think they're pretty cute. They're giving that like old feeling. Like I said, I wanted the family to like walk in and be like, wow, this place is ancient and dusty. But then I also wanted to make sure there was still like color and stuff, because obviously they're going to have moved in and fix it up to how they like it. So I really made like the living room and the library and kitchen and dining more attuned to like that old look. And when we get to the bedrooms, I really start to add more of their personality. It's a little more up to date. You guys don't even know how many times I like adjust things. Even speeding up the videos, I still have to cut out so much because I'm just a perfectionist and always am like just adjusting things, a hair here, a hair there, to the point where no one else will probably even notice. But I'm like, no, it has to be perfect. So drives myself crazy, but that's why the builds always take me so long. If I would just be like, oh, it's cute, whatever, and move on. I need to work on that more. Maybe I will start doing more timed builds. I did one way back when I first started my channel at the beginning of the year, but it didn't do very well. It was terrible. I only did 15 minutes, and it was either 10 or 15 minutes, and it was terrible. So maybe if I did more of those, I'd get a lot better. And there I added that little scratch post, and I was thinking that that poof, maybe, I don't know everything about like the cats and dogs dynamics and whatnot, but I was hoping that a cat might be able to sit on that poof right in front of the window, because I felt like it was a perfect spot to just have a cat looking out, waiting for you to get home or whatever. And I almost put like one of the little cat box scratch post things there, but I thought the poof looked so cute. And I think I was trying to figure out if I wanted a runner through the living room or if I just wanted those 2 rugs. But that's when I found that one runner, and I thought it would be very cute for the little in-between room right there in the little hallway area. And then here I wanted the shelves to not look so symmetrical, so I decided to just add some books and a little picture. I almost thought about trying to put a little bit more in there, like where that chest is, but I was like, it's okay. I've already done a little bit to change it up, so it's fine. And I really liked adding these knights in. I don't know why. I add a couple more. They are super expensive. The house ends up being like $148,000. So I'm gonna have to cheat a little money so my Sims can afford it. But during the gameplay, hopefully he will make enough money as the Reaper that we can pay our bills. But yeah, those knights are like 8,000 a piece. I used 3 of them. So 8 times 3, is that like $24,000 on 3 nights? Oh my gosh. Yeah, that would explain why the house was so expensive, but they just fit the vibe, you know? I was almost going for like an Addams Family, but not so like black and everything, and maybe mixed with like a Scooby-Doo haunted house. So I wanted that color, but like the Addams Family old school vibes, and I really felt like the night was very like Scooby-Doo-y. So I just think it all turned out very well. And in there, I loved that chair from Cats and Dogs. I felt like that was just like the focal point of the house. Like, if you were going to see this house, you'd think that chair belongs in here. The whole thing should be like themed around it or something. It was amazing. And oh, I decided to add that little crow in. I don't really know exactly what it's going to do. I know when I was like trying to get pictures and everything of the house on the outside and having my character move around and stuff, I saw the crow like disappear. So I don't know if it's supposed to send messages or what, but I guess we'll find out in the playthrough. So definitely go and check that out. I think the first video should be, oh my gosh, I literally just said I wasn't going to announce like when things are going to be because I always end up having them a different day. But there's a chance it will be out the beginning of next week. I'm going to say Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. It should not be out after Wednesday. That would be not good. Because I don't want to be like halfway into October and not have any of my October plans done. But I'm hoping to get things a little more situated, have another build this month, at least one more build, because I really need to bring back the builds. I haven't done a build since I did the Enchanted by Nature playthrough. I did the home build for that, and then I just stopped. I did some more 100 baby challenge things, but we've taken a little step back from that, so I'm hoping that I will have more time to work on this stuff, and I still want to stream. I don't know if you guys ever watched the VOD or if you were there for the actual stream, but I do plan on doing more streams, so look out for those. I'll probably be doing the 100 baby challenge on stream for a while, just because I want to keep doing the challenge, but it gets very repetitive. So filming the videos and editing them was very repetitive, and it was driving me a little bit crazy. So I'd rather just do the videos and release the VODs, and then at the end release like a best bits video, I think. So hopefully that turns out right. I love this bathroom, and I do another bathroom upstairs too. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. I don't know if you need 2 bathrooms for 2 bedrooms. I guess one upstairs and one downstairs is kind of normal. I grew up in a 3-bedroom house with 1 bathroom, and there were 7 of us living in there, so I'm used to 1 bathroom. But the dream is always to have more than 1 bathroom, you know? But I loved how vintage this bathroom felt, and I really tried to do that on the upstairs one too. I felt like vintage bathrooms really stuck with like one color palette, and I felt like having these sinks and the red floor and the red wallpaper, it was just 10 out of 10 for me. And you won't see it here, but I do end up adding a litter box into the bathroom because I remembered the cat needed a place to go. So you'll see that in the tour though. I will do a tour at the end, show you any little things that I might have added. I know I added a TV to the living room. I realized we don't have any source of entertainment besides books, and the Sims need a TV or something, you know, they need to be happy. And I loved using these little lights throughout the house. I feel like they were giving that vintage feeling I wanted. And I did a lot of messing with the lights, turning down the brightnesses and stuff because I wanted it to seem like that spooky old vibes. And those, you know, those old lights, they did not light up like these LEDs do today. Things are always dim in older houses. So I wanted to do that. And I wanted to keep the lights warm. I didn't want it to feel cold in there. I wanted it to feel warm, like a family home. but just a little bit spooky, you know? It might be a little haunted, you never know. And sorry if you heard any weird background noise. Someone was vacuuming in my house, so I had to stop recording my voiceover for a second. But I wanted to finish up what I was saying. So hopefully there should be no other weird background noises in the rest of the video. But I'm just finishing up this bathroom now. You can see I'm adding just little bits and bobs around. And after we finish up in here, we are going to hit up the kitchen. The kitchen was very quick and fun to do. You might see in the tour, the cabinets were a little bit high. So if you decide to download the build, then you might want to lower them just a tad bit, because they didn't look like they were going to be clipping into the ceiling from when I did it on here, as you will see. But I was a little worried that it might look like that when I went back into video mode, or whatever it's called. But when you are playing, it shouldn't be an issue. You won't even be able to see it. It's just if you're in that little video mode like I do for the tour, then you will be able to notice. So if you do download it, you might not even bother with moving the cabinets down, because I probably won't. So you can see I just like clipped them up a little bit, and I was like, okay, because I didn't want the trim showing, but I guess the ceiling probably covers that part of the trim anyways, and you just don't notice it when you're not in that little camera mode. Cinematic view mode, I guess. Yeah, I decided to go with blue for the kitchen because I really liked that tiling. I almost used it for the bathroom. I can't remember if I left that in or not. But I decided that maybe we should go with the matching blue countertops. A very vintage feeling. I don't think blue is super popular, one of those colors, but I feel like they had pink and red and green. So I decided to go with blue for the kitchen. And over here is where I added my little pet bowl. I don't know how many pet bowls we need if we're going to have a cat and a dog, so I might end up adding more. But like I said, I've never played with a cat or dog in The Sims, so I'm excited to have that in this playthrough. And I think it'll just be fun to have a little more something going on than solely career focused, because in my Enchanted by Nature playthrough, it was very much like we're trying to get all of the fairy points and do all of that, which we will be trying to get all of the grim stuff going on. But I feel like it gets a little boring when we keep going, okay, in this episode, we're going to try to do this. And that's what I keep showing me trying to do over and over. What was it? I kept trying to... The only other thing I really did besides, like, build my fairy magic up and do the career was try to get a wife. So I did that, and it just took me forever because I guess this lady was really hard to wife up. So I'm glad I've already thought of a few extra things that we're going to be doing. We're going to have the whole family to follow now. We're going to be focusing on that Grim Reaper career. Of course, we're going to be following him to work and stuff, but we're also going to be raising our kid and having her make friends and stuff, and we're going to be picking out a cat and a dog together and seeing what we end up having the mom doing, you know? So I'm glad we're doing a family this time rather than just a single sim playthrough. And I'm sure there are other times where I will do a single sim playthrough. I do think the Enchanted by Nature series was very entertaining, and I hope you guys did too. If you didn't check that out, go check it out and leave me a comment below saying that you came from this video. But I do think there are some things that I'm just going to be more excited to have in this video rather than solely, since I'm doing a whole series, like a mini series, I guess, because it's going to be like 5 videos, maybe. We'll see how many. If I really like it, I might keep going. But so instead of just like doing one video that shows the playthrough, I understand where that would be like, okay, we're going to solely focus on just the career and nothing else. But since I'm doing a whole mini series, I'm glad that I decided to add a little more going on. And I'm glad I added seasons, because we are going to get to see what Ravenwood looks like in all of the glorious seasons. Of course, we're going to start in fall, so we'll see what it looks like with snow and everything. And I just hope it's a fun series for everyone. I know it's going to be, so... And of course, you can see I'm finishing up the dining room now. I think, oh my gosh, the dining room might be one of my favorite rooms. I don't know if you caught, but I did a little trick to raise some mirrors up behind that little bar thing because I didn't like the glowing lights. But I could show you a more in-depth tutorial of that if you guys ever wanted. I could do a tips and tricks video. I know a couple. But again, I love the green of those chairs. I'm so glad I went with them because I feel like that's that like vintage green color that it just screams like old school. Now we are finally moving up to the upstairs landing. So I decided to have a little more bookshelves up here, and I used those to cover up the fireplace so that the fireplace almost just looks like a little built-in part of the bookshelf. I almost did a little corner bookshelf, which I think would have been very cute, but then it would have kind of blocked your view while playing. And I always try to build to where I'm looking from the front of the house and I can see everything, and maybe that means that side of the house isn't as detailed if I go with all the walls up and turn around and whatnot. But for the most part, when I play with only the back walls up and I'm just looking forward. So I try to have the house set up in a way where that works. And now you can see I'm doing that little wall trick around the ladder to make it just look like more natural, not just the ladder sticking out there. I don't know why earlier in the build I'm pretty sure I remember thinking like I couldn't fit walls around it even though I could. So I'm glad I went back and changed that. And I know you can't even see inside of that tiny little room, but I wanted it to look like it was not finished, like the wall was coming up a little bit and there's little bricks at the bottom there. So that's what I tried to do and have that dim little light in there. So it was like a crusty old closet a little bit, But not even that you can even see it, but and I went ahead and decided to change the wallpaper from those owls to a more burgundy color. Like I said, I think I was trying to bring more of the family style to the upstairs especially, and I was like, the mom really loves purple and burgundy, I think, so let's try to bring a little more of that color up through here, and I'm glad I did. And I also added in a little chair to sit. That was always the plan, a little sitting area, and it was up in the air whether I was going to do bookcases or a fireplace or maybe both, but I think it ended up looking pretty cute. And I'm also glad I decided to add this little touch of green up here. Now that I'm thinking about it, it gives a little Christmas, but I think they go well together, the two colors. And I was trying to add more green in with this little Grim Reaper painting, and I was also like, maybe that can be Dad while he's at work. But I was like, we have this green rug, and I thought it was the best rug for the space, but it needed something else that was green. So, tried to add a plant in, a rug in, and this took me so long. I cut out so much of me trying to figure out what to put in that back corner. So I was moving things around, decided to add that grandfather clock there instead, and I ended up moving the bedroom doors over just a hair, and I think it was the only way I could possibly make it work, because for some reason they make the plants so big that any size corner you try to fit them in, they still clip through the walls. I'm like, slim them down just a little bit, just make them slim them a little bit, and it'll be just fine. And my other qualm with this pack is that instead of adding in a matching bed set for a single bed, they have the toddler bed, they have the parents' bed, they even have a bassinet, they have a coffin. And I love that they have the coffin. I think it goes so well with the theme of the pack, but they should have added in that other bed too, guys. And they did the same thing in Life and not in Life and Death, in Enchanted by Nature, didn't they? I can't quite remember, but I'm pretty sure they don't have a single bed in Enchanted by Nature either. And it's just so disappointing because there's like so many. You might want a single bed because you don't want to spend the money on a double bed, or because you have a really small room, or you have a child or a teenager. And I ended up having a coffin for my child. And I think she is giving very much Wednesday Addams vibes, but with a little more care to her, because I feel like Wednesday is very much like doesn't care about others whatsoever. So she definitely is like a normal little girl in that area, but she just loves the macabre. So I think the coffin ended up being okay for her, but I would have preferred to have a single bed. I think that's one thing they could have done a little different, went back and updated. But we went with this burgundy and black tones for her room, and I think it turned out super cute. I didn't want to go too dark for her because she's still just a kid, and even the parents, both of them have other colors mixed into the outfits, and so does she, and their personalities. Like the mom loves purple, dad loves blue, the little girl has blue mixed in with some of her outfits, so I wanted to add that color back in there. And I did the same thing for the parents' room. We have the black walls, but I decided to try to add a lot of blue and purple in there as well to really show the family's personalities in the bedrooms, so they don't look as vintage and decrepit as the rest of the house might, but I'm still happy with it. Like I said, I think these are the first areas that they would tackle to really put their personalities in there and clean up and make not so dingy. So I think it all fits the theme. I was really trying hard to figure out whether I wanted the blue version of these birds or the black version. I wanted the black, but I liked that the blue had feathers, but I don't know. It was really hard to decide. And I ended up, adding the lighting and everything in and a little rug. And the bedrooms are always a favorite thing for me to do in all of my builds. But honestly, I felt like by the time I got to the bedrooms in this build, I was so happy with how the other parts of the house turned out. The bedrooms were just like, oh, I gotta get these over with so I can have it done. But usually I really enjoy doing the bedrooms. And I still enjoy doing these ones. It just wasn't as big of a deal for me here. And for this bathroom, I decided to go with a green theme. I started out doing like the foresty green, but then I really liked the way that teal looks for the sinks, and you guys will see that in just a moment. So I ended up changing everything to that teal color rather than the foresty green. I just think that teal color gave those vintage vibes I was looking for, especially on like the warm wood colored cabinets. I just felt like it was very cute and I loved it. So I went ahead and did that, adding in some accessories with the shelving and the towels, and you will see me do my little tried and true method of adding a little shelf on the end of the tub so that you can have your soaps there if it's a standalone tub like this. And I don't even think you need an in-depth tutorial on that. It could be in a little tips and tricks videos. I get most of my tips and tricks from other Sims creators, but I could make my own little video if you guys were interested in it. You just put the wall there, put a shelf on it, and then put your objects on it. And sometimes you have to like lift them with the 9 key to make them fit perfectly, but it all turns out pretty well. And now we are here for the tour. Oh my gosh. I decided, I didn't show this, but I painted the ceiling. It was technically a dirt texture, but I feel like it just almost looks like an old ceiling. So with maybe like mildew from water or whatever. So I think it's a good one. It's so hard. I wish they would let us do like wall colors on the ceilings because I want just like plain colored ceilings sometimes. Like I would have done like a plain beige color if I could have probably, but they didn't really have that in like the concrete or anything. But I think this one turned out pretty well, and like I said, it almost gives that like old water stained look, so I like it. And I hope you guys are liking the little view of everything. I know I've been chatting a lot about the ceiling and not so much about the build, but I talked so much about it already while we were doing it. But yeah, you can see the curtains clip into the ceiling too, and those were like way below the trim line, so I don't know. I don't know why it does this. But here's a little upstairs now, and I feel like it's a little blank in that hallway, but I don't know what I would have added. And you can also see there was a little roof clipping right there. I don't think you see that at all when you have the walls down in your plane, so don't worry about that. But it's just some of that ivy I ended up adding to the outside. You'll see here in a second when I show you all of the landscaping I did. Like I said, let me know if you want to see me on video doing the landscaping. I could do a little landscaping tutorial thing, but for the most part, I don't think it's that interesting to watch. And I wouldn't know what to say in the voiceover over it, like, yeah, it took me a second to do this type of thing. But because it does take me a while to figure out exactly how I want it to look. I also wanted you guys to see what the house looked like in the dark because it is those dark vibes in Ravenwood, but there she is in all of her glory. It's all done. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you really enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, leave a comment. Please subscribe, and I will talk to you guys all later when we're doing the little playthrough. Bye!